All right. I am using the Morocco paint inlays. It is a patented design by Iron Orchid. I can't believe I haven't used this one. I am freaking out for this. Look at that. That is so gorgeous. These are reusable up to 3 times sometimes. Let me show you what the one that I pulled off looks like. So the next time, the next second and third use will have whatever you put your paint inlay into color that will transfer onto your next project, which is good. Okay. You'll want that to happen. It'll be good, but you got to kind of think about that. All right. So of course you can see you can do multiple colors back here for the background, but I wanted a really boho look. I'm going to do a lot of things to this. If you will follow me on all my socials are Decorizing Your Life. My website to get these products and the paint and all the stuff I use is decorizingyourlife.com. All my socials are that, and that's my website. But anyway, I'm going to do a lot more to this. So I will be posting pictures when it's done on my Facebook. So it's so good. I'm going to do some dark wax glazing, shadow waxing is what I call, not glazing. Shadow waxing is in the corner. Ooh, I missed some spot right there. Anyway, and I'm going to do some stuff to this, but some wet distressing possibly. Anyway, so good. So I'm just going to describe to you. This won't be a super in-depth thing, but it's going to be pretty good. Okay. If you aren't familiar with the paint inlays. Okay. Oh, let me show you. This is what I did on the last one I did. I just had a little scrap transfer and an IOD Dainty Flourishes mold. If you go back through my other lives on YouTube and Facebook, I did this. And then I just added a little, this was a green base, Salty Kiss. And I just added a little mermaid tail in the corners and the golden roll wax, which is amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. So shelf sitter. Don't say that real fast. Shelf sitters. These are so fun. Look at that. So you could put like a little pop. I've used a pop can lid and screwed it on. You can take a staple gun and staple in some twine. You know, there's things you can do to hang this if you want to not have to say shelf sitter. Okay. So that's cute. All right. So let's go. You've got to see this. Okay. So this is the first step. I put a base coat down. Sometimes I like to use, like, say, for an example, white is my base coat. Once that's dry and you put your second coat on, that's when you put the paint inlay, the side with the artesian paint is what this is, into the wet paint. It has to be wet. Sometimes I like to do 2 different colors, so then when you pull it off, you see a variation. It's so good. And sometimes I purposely let it wrinkle because that adds goodness too. Okay. So what you do is you're going to paint your base coat, let it dry. Paint your second coat, and while that is still wet, what I do, you don't have to do this step, but I do it. I spray the back. If you mess up and do the front where the paint is, that's fine. But don't get that confused because you'll mess up. Make sure you're putting the paint side into the paint or you're going to mess it up. Anyway, so first coat's dry. I put my second coat of wet paint. If chalk and clay paint, which I use DIY paint, it's clay, dries super quick. So sometimes by the time I get it on the piece, depending on how big, I'll go ahead and just mist it a little bit to re-wet it because it's got to be wet for this to work. So I'll go ahead and spray the back of this to open up the pores of the piece. If you forget to do the front, that's fine too. Okay, so I've got my second coat of wet down. And then, you know, you kind of have mapped out if you're doing this or where you're going to do it. And you stick it in. You have a smidgen of time before it activates this, meaning if you get it on there and it's like that, you're like, you got a smidgen of time. Pull that sucker off and go again because, yeah, so you'll figure it out. Practice on some little shelf sitters first instead of your big Granny's handed it down to everybody, heirloom piece, okay? So, got my second coat of wet paint in. I've sprayed the back to open up the pores of this. I've held it, hoover over a little bit, and then I stuck it on, you know, kind of made sure I had it in the center and everything. And then you put it on with your finger, and then you spray it with water. We'll do one real quick. But anyway, I want to show you what. So this is dry, and you can let it dry an hour. You can let it dry a month. You can let it dry for weeks. But then you pull it off. But I can never wait that long. So I take a blow dryer or a heat gun, and I help it, and you can tell when it's dry if it kind of goes back to the opaque you know, the paper turns kind of white. So you'll kind of tell. So now what we do, I love Mr. bottles because it doesn't dump water in one spot. It's a fine Mr. Let me see if this is one that works. These make me so mad as well. They don't last very long. You get them at the beauty supplier and the store. Okay, so this has been dried. I helped it along with a fan and a blow dryer. So you spray this on, re-wet the whole thing. I don't like to cut that off because I like to reuse it in one sheet, but you can cut that excess off. You'll kind of get your flow to do this. Okay, now wait the longest 30 seconds of your dang life because you got to let that kind of do its thing. And then you can pull it off. If you pull it off and it starts ripping, stop, respray, let it set for a second, and then do it. It should come off in one piece. And then lay it paint side up. I use the carrier sheet that comes in between the packaging. And I just lay it on there. Okay, that's the proper thing to do. I just throw it around and make sure the paint side's up. So, but this is good for that if you want to be technical. Okay, ready? Okay, oh my gosh, this is so satisfying, okay? Better than peeling a sunburn off. Now I just gross some of you people out that would never do such a thing. Oh, it's so good. Oh, so pretty. If you don't want it to look so boho, use white, use black, use gray, use, you know, whatever color you want. Okay, so I'm throwing this over there, paint side up to dry. It doesn't take long for them to dry to be reused. Now, I cannot see because I'm talking to the back of my camera. I'm just hoping I'm in here. But look at that. Now, I wish you could get up here close. Like right here, it was wrinkled, so the image didn't come off. But I like that. Okay, you can not wet distress. Don't wet distress with this. You can very, very fine sanding and give it a distress look is so good. You can rip your paper or rip your paint inlay like this and it'll look like a torn wallpaper look. Hang on, let me put this back in. Okay, now what we would do, because that's done. So if you want to still blend paint colors, which I think I'm going to do over here on these edges, do different stuff, or I could have matched it up and filled that in, but I didn't want that. I'm going to do some other stuff. You have to seal this with water-based top coat so it doesn't, water-based so it doesn't change your color, or wax. This is the deal. This is reactivated with water until it's sealed. So meaning that's good if you seam some pieces together and there's a gap and you're like, darn, I didn't line it up very good. Take a little artist brush, dip it in water, touch it, let it, you know, reactivate it, and then just blur it a little bit and it blends it. It pulls that paint into it. Or get creative and do some other layers of something to make it, or just distress the whole thing and it blends it. What else can I tell you about that? So the good rule of thumb is to take a water-based top coat and dilute it 50% with not your Mr. bottle, because the water-based top coats will clog those up. Just a cheap spray bottle, 50-50 of that, and just kind of spray it like this. Or you could take it outside and do a clear coat of top coat to set it. And then you can do your colored waxes. You can do your, whatever else on top of that you want. But this will reactivate. And sometimes that's a cool look. I messed up my very first one I've ever did. And I blurred it because I reactivated it. It kind of looked cool. It was like soft focus. So, whatever you like to do. What else can I tell you? Okay, so that's that. So now I'm going to demonstrate the first steps I just told you, but I'll have to get back here and look at my camera real quick to set it so I can show you how to do this. Okay. Whoa. Okay, hello. Is everybody okay? I'm okay. Okay, so I tripped over my cords that I had plugged in. Okay. Let me get it like this. Resetting here. That's why if you are a YouTube person, you don't want to do all this yakky yak and it takes forever to set stuff. That's what Facebook Lives are good for. But I'm on both places at once, and I will have edited videos coming soon in January, once a week, edited. So the people that don't like these live yakky yak, yeah, it's edited out and it goes real fast because I'm kind of one of those people. I don't have time for it. I fast forward through everybody's stuff usually and just get to the meat of it. Okay, so I've got my first coat on. It is not completely dry, but I'm going to make it work. Let's see if I can get up here a little bit closer. Okay, so get your generous second coat on. I will go back and answer any questions. Please comment, good, bad, or ugly. Like, I can't stand you. I'm never watching you again. Okay, that's good for my algorithms. Go ahead and put it in. But I really do like to hear like what people say or think or tips or tricks or all this stuff. I love to go back and look at the comments. So please do that. Okay, so I got my second coat on. It already feels a little dry, so I'm going to just go ahead and give it a little mist. You don't want it too wet, but this clay paint dries so fast. Okay, so let me get my next sheet. This particular one comes, I think, with 8 sheets. Let me open up the pores with the water bottle. You don't have to do this step, but it does make it come off a little bit easier, I think, okay? I might be in the way of the camera for just a second till I line this up, okay? These are for sale, so I have to do them good. Okay. You can get some tape on there. You can do things to make this okay, I have little holes that I'm trying to, ooh, that's so bad. Okay. It's hard to do this on film. I'm going to be in the way of it for a second, and I promise I'll get out of the way. This one may be really bad because I'm doing it live. But I can distress them and make it all blend and work. Now, if I accidentally had the paint side up, this is where it would be coming off on my hands and being so sad. You can rip it off real quick and go again, but okay, this one's going to be kind of tough. Okay, so I got it on there. It's pretty wrinkly. That's fine because I like that, except I did the other ones not so wrinkly, but that's all right. Okay, now what you do is you respray the back and take a brayer, but not too hard because you don't want to push all your wet paint out there. I just do it with my fingers or a damp sponge or a damp washcloth. Okay, so then we're just going to let this dry, and I'm probably going to leave this until in the morning because it's late. I don't usually work this late, but we're staying in my studio apartment upstairs, and I'm just down here working late. Oops, here's some wet, so that needs wet. Okay, so that will dry in sometimes an hour, sometimes, longer or less. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to be in here. Am I in here? Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and follow me on my socials and you will see the end shots of that. It may be a minute because it might be a minute before I finish it, but I'm really active on Facebook and I'm going to get consistent on YouTube. So I'd love to have you watch me and follow me. And if you need any products, reach out. You can private message me. You can order off of my decorizingyourlife.com. Thank you so much. Bye.